Okay, it's now 7 o'clock. Good evening, all that are assembled. This is the Town of Warren Zoning Board of Review. This is the April 19th meeting. I'm the chair, Andrew Ellis. To my right is Jason Rainone, followed by the vice chair, Barrett Colby, Michael Elves, and David Francis. Both Mr. Elves and Francis are alternate members. However, since two of the regular members are absent, they will be voting members for tonight's meeting. And should any matter be continued, we need the same members who've heard this application to proceed. Firstly, we have three sets of minutes that were circulated. Is there a motion on approving the minutes, or are there any edits?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the minutes of March 15th, both the site visit and regular meeting and the April 6th special meeting have been approved. On the agenda under old business, the first application 2301 Carl Sen from 1 Tuisset Road. They're looking for a dimensional variance to construct a single family home. If anyone is here for that, the owner has requested to withdraw this application without prejudice. So nothing will be going forward this evening. So could I have a motion to that effect?
Make a motion to continue it?
Withdraw. Without
Sorry.
prejudice.
Second that?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that matter has been withdrawn from the board. Under new business, the first matter there is application 2314. Gregory and Sarah Collins, owner and applicant, 10 Ridgewood Drive, plat map 15B, lot 263. Request for a dimensional variance to construct a front porch with less than the allowed front yard setback and greater than allowed lot coverage under 3277 in the R10. If the applicant or representative could come forward, please. And sir, if you could just identify yourself for the stenographer.
Yep, I'm Gregory Collins.
And you reside at 10 Ridgewood.
Yes.
So just give us a brief overview of what you'd like to do at your property and why you need relief.
Yeah, so I wanted to add a front porch on that, on the front side, but I need relief for the front yard setback. That's cul-de-sac. That actually that road got cut through probably in the 80s. So that's no longer a cul-de-sac per se. So if I was just, if you made that road straight, as a hypothetical property boundary, I don't even think I would need a setback variance. I know that's not the case, but it's just.
So the unique character of the land is causing a hardship.
Right.
Okay, and then you also have more lot coverage than you're allowed.
Yeah, so again, because of that cul-de-sac, that's, that's a substandard lot. I'm governed by R10, which is usually 10,000 square feet, 100 by 100. That lot from the 60s is, I think, 8,600 or 8,500. So that, that pushes me over the limit.
Yeah, so it looks like here. What is this? You're adding, what is this, 269 square feet with the
Yep.
construction of the porch.
Also, just one other note, the house next to me coming down the street is set forward of mine. So even with this porch addition, I wouldn't be proud of the front of that property, whether that matters.
Does the board have any specific questions about the porch addition?
Well, it looks nice. I looked at the cul-de-sac and how it's cut, and then the town property line is actually a little deeper than the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And you say the cut through came through in the 80s?
Yeah, I believe maybe the early 80s, that was all cornfield before. Yeah. So like that cul-de-sac would be the same as all the rest of those courts on.
Would be normal. I don't know if you get rid of some of that pavement. you and your neighbor across the street.
Right,
But I also, and as you say, if you are Ridgewood, what's it,
Ridgewood Court.
what's Ridgewood and what's the other road? Seymour.
Yeah.
If you're on Seymour and you're looking down, you can see your neighbor's house and then even the house on Seymour. And the deck would be in line with, probably just about with those guys anyway.
Correct. Yep.
I saw that and the roof, you're gonna change the roof line there and bring that cover over the front door.
Right, so make that pitched roof on the front and then just tie in the rest of it with a little hip roof, whatever I need to do.
And would you say this is consistent with other houses in the neighborhood that they have a porch at the front of their house?
Some do, yeah, a lot of them do, yeah. My neighbor across the street, yep.
Am I reading the plans correctly that there is some existing covered porch area on the house?
There is between the garage and the house, that breezeway area. It's not big, but that's set in, but that would all be tied into one.
Gotcha. So the new porch is matching the height of the existing porch.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, the soffit lines would all line up. Yep. And the ridge wouldn't go over the ridge of the existing house. I'd keep the pitch to line up the ridges, so. It wouldn't be any taller.
Right.
So the only theoretical setback that's impacted is the front due to the curve. The other
Correct.
setbacks are not going to be altered by the
And
porch.
yeah, and they don't come into play, I don't
of
believe.
Play. And so so the house is already at 27%, right, where 20 is allowed, and now you want to increase it another 3%, so you'd be at 30 once the porch is complete.
Correct. Yep.
Any other questions at this moment? I'll just ask if anyone in the public is here that would like to comment on this application. If you would, please come forward. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, he's leaving. Okay. Never mind then. Appears no one wants to offer any commentary on this matter. Do you have any other information you'd like to share with the board about this porch and what its impacts will be?
No.
Is there any other questions for the applicant or clarifications needed before we entertain a motion on the porch? All right, someone prepared with a motion on this application?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for thank you. I have it right here. 2314. Make a motion to approve application 2314 Gregory and Sarah Collins, owner and applicant, 10 Ridgewood Drive, lot map 15B, lot 263, request for a dimensional variance. Construct a front porch with less than the allowed front yard setback and greater than the allowed lot coverage under section 3277 in the R10 zoning district. It's believed that there's a hardship due to the unique characteristics of the subject structure and the land. The design is that's an older house. The new porch will make the house more user-friendly and easier to get to the side doors. Also, unique character of the land with the cul-de-sac that's been there probably since the 60s or 70s. It really isn't, even though there's pavement there, it's really not used anymore because there's a cut through the street. And it's sort of made the lot substandard. So by approving this, make the house more usable and in line with the other neighbors. It's from a hardship that's not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from any desire to realize greater financial gain. The house has been there for many years and the cut through has been there as well. The granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area, and the request conforms with the purpose and intent of the Warren zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. The new deck addition with the new roof will enhance the neighborhood because of the circle and the town property line. The addition will not really be that noticed. cul-de-sac is so much smaller than the actual town line. And the new deck will be just about in line with the front of the other houses that are on Ridgewood and Seymour, the side of the house on Seymour. Those houses to the south. Relief requested is a least relief necessary and will improve the appearance and functionality of the home. And I think that's it. If we're not granted the use and appearance and the functionality of the home in the neighborhood would not have those nice improvements that the applicant is proposing.
Okay, are there any amendments to that motion?
We can go ahead and codify that the dimensional variance being requested and granted would be a front yard setback of 11 feet where 25 is required. And lot coverage of 30% where 20% is required.
Any other amendments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so your application is approved.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
The next matter under new business is 2316. Horace Pinero, owner and applicant, 37 Parker Ave, plat 13C, lot 37. Request for a dimensional variance to reconstruct the second floor by raising the height and pitch of the roof to a legal non-conforming structure under 3276A in the R10 zoning district. The applicant would like to come forward, please, and just identify yourself for the stenographer.
Hi, Horace Pinero, owner of 37 Parker Ave, along with James DePasquale, who's also the owner.
Okay, so Mr. Pinero, give us an overview of what it is you're doing and why you need relief to intersection.
My partner and I, we purchased the house back in December. We closed on it. And we're going through the entire home. The home is over 100 years old now. And what we did on this, we're leaving, the footprint is staying the same. The lot cover, right now with the structure, it takes up 20% of the lot, and that's going to remain the same. The only thing we're doing is we're restructuring the roof, the second floor of the roof, because the roof currently, how it was, had all slanted ceilings, very, very low, being at a 100-year-old house. And so we wanted to eliminate all the slanted ceilings from the second floor and raise the roof, raise the ceiling about a foot. And so that's why we're here today.
And so the footprint is not changing,
No.
but the existing footprint was not conforming to setbacks on the property.
Correct.
So by extending the second floor, you're extending the non-conformity vertically, although you're not making any of the setbacks any worse than they were to
Correct.
start with.
They're staying the same.
Yep, and the height of the house will still be within the prescribed height
Yes,
of the ordinance,
correct.
even with the increase,
Mhm.
to the slight increase. Right,
So
specific
essentially,
questions?
from an exterior standpoint, when you're sort of looking at it from the road, the dormers that are there would get essentially incorporated into a wall, and there would be a small pitched roof above that.
Correct,
And then that same condition would sort of extend to the backyard.
correct.
Okay.
Other questions about the extension of the house vertically?
You know, I'm sorry. Okay. You're just going up, would you say a foot?
Just a foot.
Just a foot, all this for a foot.
Well, the total height will be a foot, but the walls will be
Yeah.
coming up into the
Right.
setback.
The actual footprint's not changing, just the height, and that'll eliminate all the slanted ceilings and
And when, man, when did is there a work stop order on there? When did that happen?
Yes, unfortunately, we had to issue a stop work order on the project, and it's, I believe it was about a month ago. So the applicant immediately came into my office, filed the application. The project's been sitting as it was that day that I issued the stop work order.
And that was due to the lack of approval from zoning.
Yes, it was a misunderstanding. And so we actually had to run it by the solicitor's office due to our ordinance, how it states what a dormer is.
Just so the board knows, there's an exception to the alteration of non-conforming properties with dormers.
With
Because
what?
the dormers themselves is an exception, meaning by right, he can do it. However, when it changes from a dormer to actually just a general elevation of the property is what changed it to a variance versus that exception that is within the ordinance as we speak. That's kind of the legal-
You could add a dormer
Correct.
onto an existing
Not
fixed
the
roof
property.
that's within the setbacks, but if you're extending the plane of the walls of the box of the house
Correct.
vertically, it's now.
Even if the property is not conforming, there's an exception in our ordinance. That's where we chatted about it, but at the end of the day, we thought that the variance is the way to legally do this.
Okay.
Is there any other properties that have done the dormers in your neighborhood?
And then, and not that I'm aware of. I don't actually live there. I've never lived in the neighborhood, but
Are you a resident of Warren then, or no?
I'm a resident of Bristol.
Resident of
Right,
Bristol.
we purchased that property in Warren.
Well, you're just fixing it up.
Correct, we're going right through it. The entire, everything's being gutted. New windows, vinyl siding, floors, walls, electrical, plumbing, you name it. It'll be brand new.
Okay.
Except for the foundation.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this application? Seeing no one. Does the board have any further specific questions? Again, this is essentially an extension of the footprint vertically, intruding upon the setbacks, but they're not getting any worse.
And what is the resulting height of the new roof line? Is that the 25 feet that would be?
Yes, 25 here. Where is it?
It actually looks like that 25 foot line goes to slightly above the roof. I don't know if that's just a.
I want to say from. My memory recalls 25 feet from the low end of the property, from the lower end.
From lower grade to the
Correct.
top of the roof.
So east side. So that would go
The
the west,
east side, I believe, will be higher, will be more footage because
it'll be the
road
25,
slopes.
and then the,
Yeah, it's the average grade of the property that is taken for the official height. So I mean, it appears that the house is with, I mean, this is taken from the worst case scenario here. It looks like this dimension here.
right,
Well, the west side would probably be 25 feet. I believe that's what the plan says. And then the east side of the property will probably be maybe, I'm guessing, maybe about 3 feet higher.
well, you go downhill towards the east, so it'd be the east side is
Towards the-
25, and then the west side would be a little less.
A little less, correct.
I mean, the dimension on the plan here appears to show it's going to the rear elevation, the 25 feet, looks like it's going from the lowest point of the grade.
Right, and that's the east side of the house,
So nothing would be any taller than that.
right.
If we took the average, it would be even less. So the only thing he's looking, so the height of the house is not an issue. The only thing is the extension of the walls of the house into the existing non-conformity of the setbacks.
Right.
Do you have any other information you'd like to offer to explain?
No,
this?
but just, it's, when we're done with it, right, it's currently a two bed, 1 bath. It'll be a 3 bed, 2.5 bath when it's complete.
And it would not be feasible really to create that layout if the roof stayed slanted and you had those very low
They want
ceilings.
to be.
So in order to accomplish the goals of the project, you need to extend the height of the
Correct.
ceilings and raise the roof.
Give it a little more height, because like I said, the house is over 100 years old.
It's tight and upstairs.
Yeah, and then the ceilings on it were
Yep.
really all slanted, all sides.
All right.
Any other particular questions on this application? Someone prepared for the motion?
I'll prepare the motion.
Very good.
Motion is to approve application 23-16, R.S. Pinero, owner and applicant, 37 Parker Ave. Plat map 13C, lot 37. Request for a dimensional variance to reconstruct the second floor by raising the height and pitch of the roof to a legal non-conforming structure under the section 32-76A in the R10 zoning district. In approving this, due to the unique characteristic of the property, approving this by raising the roof line and the wall structures. I believe it'll make a more functional second floor for the property, and not giving it could potentially create a hardship of those slant ceilings that minimize the ability to, walk towards the rear wall. The hardship is not the result of a prior action of the applicant, and does not result primarily for the desire to get a greater financial gain, and also increasing the functionality of the property. The request conforms with the purpose and intent of the Warren Zone Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan. And the extension of the existing codes non-conforming under the zoning. Again, not changing any of the existing codes, just the non-conformity, keeping it as the same. The only thing that will change will be the pitch of the roof and the walls. I believe this is the least release necessary for the functionality of the second floor. And do we just help me out with 25, adding the 25%?
No,
it's
it's within the required, the
Okay.
height is within the required.
It's in within all the requirements. So I recommend that we approve it under those situations.
And would it be more than a mere inconvenience if it was not approved?
Yeah, I believe it would be more than mere inconvenience, the functionality of the house. Anybody that has that style house, that when you're walking towards the rear of the house, that impedes you, especially in a bathroom, that's going to open up to just create a better functionality.
Even the front of, believe it or not, the front of that property also has slanted ceilings
Correct.
between the two domes.
So it would
So
just
it was
increase the
just-
functionality, as I'm saying. Okay,
Okay, are there any amendments to this motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion is approved. Good luck with the resuming work.
Thank you.
Check
Just got a question. Am I able to resume
and talk.
construction on?
You can contact me tomorrow in my office.
Okay. Thank you.
good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, the next matter is 2317 957 Main LLC owner and Centerville Bank applicant at 957 Main Street, plat 15C, lot 42. Request for a sign variance to replace an existing freestanding sign and install an affixed sign to the legal non-conforming building under 32-112, 113, 115 in the R20 zone district. Good evening. If you'd like to identify yourself for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'm Peter Regan with the law firm of Sayer, Regan and Thayer, here tonight representing Centerville Bank. With me is Lee Merrill, who's the chief lending officer for the bank, as well as Allison Avalera of 957 Main LLC, which is the owner of the property. As noted, this is an application for new signage at 957 Main. You're all probably familiar with this site. For about the last 25 years, it's been professional offices, the Avalera Law Office. Prior to that, my understanding was a dentist office, and prior to that, a gas station. It is a legal non-conforming use. The bank is intending to lease the property for a loan production office, which is a substantially similar use to what's there now, which we're allowed to do under the ordinance. But because the property is non-conforming in the residential zone, we need to get a variance in order to adjust the signage. We're seeking permission to do two things. First, there's a freestanding sign on the road And we're seeking to change that sign and actually reduce the size of the sign by about 20% from 17 square feet to 13.75 square feet. And also to raise it up 1 foot, 4.5 inches. And the reason we're asking to raise it up, so we have better sight lines for cars coming in and out of that lot, because that existing sign impedes the vision of oncoming traffic for cars on the property. The second thing that we'd like to do is to add a small 1x6 sign on the front of the building itself. Up until about 10 years ago, and I've got some photographs, there was existing signage affixed to the building as well. And we'd like to put, once again, a smaller sign than what was there previously, just to try to have a minimum amount of visibility for this business. But what I can do is have Mr. Merrill come forward and just answer a few quick questions.
A quick question on the size of the signs. Is the existing sign freestanding one two-sided right now?
It is.
And is the new sign two-sided?
It is. It's
And-
the same, and I think you have a mock-up of it. It would be the same on both sides.
And does the area calculation measure each side separately?
Actually, the area calculation that I gave you was for each side. So,
So just double that
yeah, double that.
for the freestanding.
But the reduction in size
Yeah.
would still be the same 20%. The existing sign,
So wait a second, did you say,
The existing sign has two sides.
so you're saying that both sides total 17 square feet?
No.
so the
Both sides.
existing sign would be 24 counting both sides. And the proposed sign, actually, the existing
27.
sign would be 34.
Right,
17 times 2, and the new sign would be
little smaller.
2750.
Plus
So-
the new 60-inch by 12-inch sign over the front of the building.
Correct.
So
Which
there's
I believe
another 5
that our reduction, the total signage on the building will actually be somewhat less than what's there now.
And how much is allowed in this? You have that in the application here? Just we can document how much above the allowance. This is what, an
Yeah.
R10?
And I think part of the main issue here is that because we're in a
R20.
residential zone, it's not technically, the signs aren't technically allowed.
Right,
But once again, because it's a legal non-conforming use, we're trying to have some minimal amount of signage to let people know where this business is, so they're not impeding traffic, trying to look for it.
So essentially, we're reducing the non-conformity of the sign. We're making the sign smaller than what was previously shown.
Correct. And once again, we are raising it up
Yeah.
1 foot, 4.5 inches to increase that open area beneath the freestanding sign to allow some better sight lines for cars coming and going from the site.
And that's for safety concerns, for
Absolutely.
safe vehicular and pedestrian access to the site.
Yeah, that's correct, because the current sign does impede your vision coming in and out.
And you feel the size of the signs would be the minimum necessary, given the distance to the road and the location to properly identify.
That's correct. The sign simply says Centerville Bank, but it also says Loan Production Office, because we want to make it clear that this is not a branch, because it's not a branch, and we don't want people pulling in thinking it's something other than this loan production office, where we'll have a couple of employees doing paperwork, maybe doing a closing now and then. So once again, very similar to the law office work that's being done there now.
I see.
All right, do you have, who is this other gentleman?
Good evening, Lee Merrill, I'm the chief lending officer at Centerville Bank.
Yep, and this is consistent with your operation. Do you have other of these loan processing centers?
Yeah, we got a loan production office in Middletown and one in Providence, and they're all similar. It's basically officers will typically have 1 or 2 people sitting there, maybe a residential lender, maybe a small business lender, and they might have a couple of appointments once in a while. And the customer will have closings there rather than making calls to West Warwick. We also will have an ITM in the location. That's typically if you're doing a loan production office, it's an ATM that has got a video screen. So you can interact with a live person back in West Warwick.
Yep, and that's inside the building.
Yeah, it's inside the building, it's not outside, so somebody would use their card to access the front door and come into a small the reception area of the office now changed. And we'll use the ITM there.
And the signage itself is going to be either wood or wood-like materials such as MDF. And any lighting is going to be exterior. These are not going to be interior lit signs.
Right.
I'm sorry, did you say ITM or ATM?
It's technically an ITM, but it's an ATM. If you looked at it, you wouldn't be able to tell. the difference.
And what is just my own,
Yeah, so
knowledge, what's an
these
ITM?
are very popular now. Most banks don't put ATMs anymore. So you can, it acts just like an ATM, but there's a button on there where you can call a
Yeah.
person back in the contact center.
Okay, great.
And you can have a discussion over it. Either you pick up the phone or you can turn on video and actually look at the person you're talking to.
Does it stand for intercom?
What?
Does it stand for intercom?
Interactive.
Interactive, thank you. Appreciate it.
And so any lighting you would potentially put on the signs would be directed onto the signs and would not cause any light trespass onto neighboring properties and would not cause a vision hazard for traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. And the plan is a couple of solar lights, pretty low voltage solar lights that would be just enough to aid in the, seeing it and driving down the road.
And just once again, to confirm, the purpose of raising the sign is to increase the sight lines for vehicles moving on and off the
Right.
site.
So if you're sitting there exiting the property, looking up and down the street, you can't see one. The sign is right about at that level now, or if you're sitting in the car, it's blocking. Could be blocking it.
Any other questions at the moment?
Just to clarify, so non-conforming signs in residential districts are restricted to 6 square feet for freestanding signage and can be no more than 6 feet high. So those would be the,
Those would be the two variances
Yep.
with regard to the freestanding sign, correct? Just the height and the overall size, although we are bringing the overall size down.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this application? Back to the board, do we have any further questions for this applicant about the proposed signage that would reduce the amount of signage on the property? Do you have any other facts or evidence you'd like to share with the board?
No, I did. If there was questions about the existing signage, Ms. Avalera can answer those. But once again, I think this is a very reasonable, modest request. I think it's a minimum variance request. We're really asking for the minimum amount of necessary signage to provide some visibility for this business going forward. And at the same time, reducing the overall size of what's there now and increasing the safety by increasing the sight lines for the incoming and outgoing traffic.
And I think your sensitivity to those two issues is appreciated to enhance safety and also shrink down the overall signage a little bit on the property. Is there a motion on this application?
I will move approval of application 23-17, 957 Main LLC owner and Centerville Bank applicant, 957 Main Street, plat map 15C lot 42, request for a sign variance to replace an existing freestanding sign and install an affixed sign to a legal non-conforming building under sections 3212, 3213, 3215 in the R20 zoning district. In approving this application, we will note that the hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure. This is an existing building with existing signage, but that signage cannot be refaced as it is a solid wooden sign. The hardship is not the result of prior action of the applicant. This would be a new business moving into an existing facility with the desire to update and improve the signage that is on the site so that it represents their business and their business's needs. The granting of this variance will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area. We have actually heard testimony and seen in the provided application that the signage will actually be reduced in size. And the applicant has requested an increase to the height of the sign, which will actually improve the visibility along the roadway and improve vehicular traffic and safety in and around this particular property. And we will note that the relief requested is the least relief necessary in so much as it is actually reducing the signage nonconformity present on the property. If we were to not approve this variance, it would qualify as more than a mere inconvenience, as a new business in the town of Warren would be unable to advertise their presence to people driving by on Main Street. We will note that the total square footage of signage being included on the property will be 32.5 square feet. That will be 27.5 square feet for the double-sided freestanding sign and 5 square feet for the small sign affixed to the building itself.
It's actually 6 by 1 on the building. So
It
would be-
said it's 60 inches, which is 5 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, it said 60 inches, which would equate to 5 feet.
That would be 5 feet.
Yep.
It's the reason why I'm like turning on an engine.
Fair enough. And we will note that those variances are in extent beyond the maximum size and height requirements listed in 3212D, section 3C, which states the standard size for a residential district commercial sign is 6 square feet and 6 feet high. The resulting signage is also listed in the application at 72 inches in height.
You want to make any conditions about the lighting?
No, actually, there is lighting present there. You can see it in the photo, so I'm.
Are you
assuming-
keeping the existing lighting?
I think it will be replaced, but we will be complying with any provisions of the.
We don't
ordinance.
have any provisions, that's why we make it conditional.
Yeah, so then we will condition this application that any lighting for the sign be done externally and that the signage cannot be internally illuminated.
That's fine.
And downward looking. Is that something we do? or-
In this instance, the existing sign is uplit and it's not necessarily so high in the air that I'd be concerned about it.
All right,
We certainly get out a condition that the lighting will be directed towards the sign and not away from the property. That's helpful.
And that would apply to both, if you put lighting on the building for the building sign and the ground sign, that all lighting would be directed towards the sign, so they're not impeding traffic or shining into neighboring properties. Okay, are there any other conditions or amendments? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed.
Thank you
good
very
luck,
much.
Oak
Appreciate
Shore Branch location here. The next matter, under new business is 2318. Edward Cabral, owner, and Jared Hunt applicant, 477 Metacom, plat 13A, lot 1. Request for dimensional variance to construct an addition, front porch with less than the allowed side yard setbacks to a legal non-conforming structure under section 3277 in the R10 district.
Chair, I have a question on this matter.
Yes,
In reviewing the materials, it looks like they want to add an addition, a full addition enclosed.
yeah, it says they're adding a porch.
It does in the minutes, but if you look at the supporting documents, it does appear that is an actual enclosed addition. I'd bring your attention to I don't know what page it is, but it's the handwritten document, which appears to be page 3.
Mr. Chairman, yes, that is supposed to be an enclosed addition, 8 feet, not a porch. I don't know why it says porch on the document.
Thank you, sir.
And it's Edward Almeida, not Edward Cabral.
Okay.
Who?
The name is wrong.
You're not Edward.
Edward Almeida. I'm Jared Hunt.
Oh, you're.
Edward
you're-
Almeida is the owner, not Edward.
Oh.
Is this application substantially accurate enough to continue, or was it not advertised correctly enough if we've got the wrong owner and it's not a porch?
It says in the minutes, in the agenda, it says the wrong last name. First name.
Well, the address is correct.
It does have exactly the application number, the address. It does talk about an addition. It does talk about, it has less than allowed side yard setbacks. Comes into a leak that they're requesting.
It just might be a technical omission.
It may be. I think that the average person reading this will know that some type of additions going on at the property and that it's not conforming, therefore requesting dimensional relief. I'm okay with it.
That's fine. And whether it was a porch or enclosed really makes no difference to the setbacks. It's over the setback, whether it, has walls or doesn't have walls. So there's so you're building an addition that's enclosed and you're demolishing some kind of apartment structure.
That structure's already gone.
Oh, it's already.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so you're actually reducing the lot coverage.
Yes,
So you're not here about lot coverage. The only thing you're here about.
The sheds are also coming off the property as well.
All right, and the sheds are also coming off. It doesn't look like the lot coverage was a problem in the first place. But you have side yard.
I believe it's
setbacks.
the west side, we needed 35 feet. The current home sits at 31 feet. We want to extend the north side of the house by the same dimensional width of the house, the 24'3", 8 feet to the north. But I fall short 4 feet of the property.
So you've got 31, it looks like 31, 31, and 31 on the three sides that you're not touching,
Correct.
right? And
And
then
then
it
to the north is 100 and change, I believe.
is 105, and you're reducing that by
8 feet.
8, or what this one says 10. I don't know. That doesn't really matter because that's more than enough on that side. So it's the fact that you don't have which side are we
West side.
considering the front?
So.
I'm sorry, considering the front would be Medicom.
We're considering Medicom to be the front.
So west side backyard.
Side of your house,
Yep,
that would be the
west side. Yes.
And it says that the rear yard here is 31.
That's what I have measured from the
So,
home,
that's
from
what
from the
I'm
home
looking-
to what the property line looks like. That's there.
So then for the rear,
Pushing the ball.
so, but your addition is north.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
This property is not a conventional property. So if you're familiar with the corner of Medicom and Franklin Street, if this property was sitting as the front door was on Franklin Street as the address side, then we wouldn't be here tonight. The property is addressed on Medicom, so if you're looking at it from Medicom, the right side, that's what he's speaking of, 100 feet would be a
Right.
side yard.
Towards the parking lot.
Yes, and
But
then,
that's actually the north side. And
yes,
if you're looking for relief on that side.
he's not looking for relief on that side. He's
that's
looking
what
for.
building.
No,
No,
he's,
but
he's
it's-
looking for relief on the west side. Essentially, just to make this a little bit easier, he's gonna keep the same width that's there now, just extend it towards the north side.
Because the west side is already non-conforming. He's supposed to have 35 feet at the back of the house.
Right.
The house currently
He's got
sits at
31.
31.
Correct.
He's now building an addition, which is also violating that 35 feet. It's not going any further than the house.
So he's not looking for relief for the 31, right? Because he already has.
No,
I
he
mean,
has to ask for the 31 because now this is more of the house in the
All
31.
So I'm just a little confused because I didn't think he was building that direction, but he needs the relief anyway.
He needs the
because
relief.
He's looking to build in the other direction and you're going all the way around the house.
So similar to the application, 2 applications ago, it's the extension of that non-conforming dimension that needs approval.
And yeah, because the front yard is fine. He's got more than he needs there. So the extension of the addition is not impacting that. It's not impacting the side yard setback on that side. It's just impacting the backyard.
And if I'm understanding correctly, if the front door was on the other street, we wouldn't be here.
Correct.
Because that would be the back of the house, not. the back.
Essentially, if we're all familiar with the property, he's gonna take the property and extend it towards the north, which is, he has plenty of room to go that way.
Exactly.
He's asking tonight, can I keep what I have now and just extend it like this?
Because we didn't give it to him, he'd have to take a notch out of this extension and make this 35 feet
Gotcha.
in order
Because he's
to.
going that way, he's keeping the boundaries. Yes.
Yes.
I'm with you. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he's not filling in between the two buildings. One's going down.
it's
and
already
it's
gone.
it's already gone.
Yeah, so the reason why it's already removed is because when the trees were cut there, it exposed this building, which was a hazard. So they came to me and said, this is a hazard, and before anybody got hurt there, we had them take it down.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so essentially you're building, whether it's 10 feet or 8 feet is somewhat immaterial,
It's 8.
whatever it is. it's the setback on the west side, which
Yes,
is
sir.
considering the side, or which we're considering the back, the rear yard of the property.
Mhm.
And 35 is required. You currently have 31, and the addition is going to align with it. So you need relief of 4 feet.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there specific questions about the 4 feet of relief that's being requested? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment? No. Do you have any other particulars about the property you want to share with us?
I think I'm good.
And so the main reason is this is due to the unique character of the subject land or structure because of the way the house was built and it's facing Medicom and not Franklin.
Yes, sir.
That's why we have a hardship. All right.
How long have you lived there or owned it or?
I have not lived there. It's actually Edward's father's house and mother's house. 45, it was built, I believe was the property card.
Okay.
So we're looking to do new siding, new roof, new siding, new windows, new plumbing, new everything.
All right, so you're renovating the house
Correct.
and
There's no basement currently. It sits on a crawl space on dirt. Current heat in the home is a gas on gas stove. There's no place for a hot water tank inside the current home, which she has in there now. So we want to add a little bit of space to it so we can bring the electrical inside and out of the crawl space in the basement. Put a Navien inside there for his domestic.
so this addition would be the least amount of space necessary to bring the home up to current standards of living, basically. All right, are there any other questions? Is there a motion on this application?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, please do.
I'd like to make a motion to approve application 23-18, Edward Almeida, owner, and Jared Hunt, applicant of 477 Medicom Ave. Plat map 13A, lot 1. Request for a dimensional variance to construct an addition with less than the allowed side yard setbacks to a legally non-conforming structure under the section 32-17 in the R10 zoning district.
I think we're just going to state that it's the rear yard in back.
The rear yard.
That the rear yard is the yard that had the issue.
Thank you.
Even though it was printed as.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there's an error. It's not your error. There's an error in the description that is technically the rear yard setback that we're dealing with.
The hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and not due to any physical or economic disability of the applicant. It is a modest home that sits on a long piece of property that does not have the width. A hardship that is not a result of any prior action of the applicant, does not result primarily from the desire to create any greater financial gain. The granting of this variance will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and the request conforms with the purpose and intent of the Warren zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. The relief request is the least relief necessary to bring the home up to modern standards, offering a place to put your mechanicals and also extra storage, which not having a basement did not offer prior. Also, the home's location had on its property several other buildings that were knocked down to make room for this potential new addition. And this dimensional variance is a hardship and more than a mere convenience for the current owners of the home.
And we just want to memorialize what the distance is that,
So the minimum rear yard is 31 existing feet. The required and allowed is 35. The applicant is requesting that there be an allowance of 31 for this addition in that rear yard so that they can maintain the home structure in a very practical sense, so that it is a rectangle as opposed to a notched out other shape.
okay? Any other conditions or amendments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the application is approved, so you can coordinate with the building official to continue with your project.
I'll be hushing.
Are there any administrative matters anyone needs to mention? No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We're now adjourned.
Would that they were all that easy?